A handful of other countries, as you know, have taken more drastic action than we have so far here. People in Spain are now in their third day of nationwide quarantine, with close to 14,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus and numbers growing by the hour. People there are allowed to leave their homes only for food, medicine, essential work, or if they're looking after an elderly person. And police are arresting violators. And with limited resources, Spanish doctors, like those in China, Italy, and Iran before them, are having to ration ICU beds. I'm joined via Skype by Dr. Jose Luis Ayuso Mateos. He's head of the World Health Organization's Collaborative Center for Mental Health Services and director of the Psychiatry Department at La Princesa University Hospital in Madrid, and his wife, Delories Dunn de Ayuso, an American-born translator. Doctor and Delories, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. Doctor,
thank you, Jim.
Are the issues you're encountering with patients who are under the lockdown in Spain right now different from the kind of psychological issues you've been treating in normal times?
Well, this is a complete new situation, and in fact, as you mentioned, the lockdown has only been for 3 days. Mm-hmm. So the main challenge that we have is to prepare what will happen when this takes longer, which is definitely going to happen. So what the main problem that we have now is that, as you mentioned, only essential movements are allowed, and as part of that, of course, there are visits to the doctors, but we have been instructed to limit that as much as possible. So now we have to change the way we deliver our care, to do it through phone or through telemedicine, and that's the big challenges we are having now, trying to keep in contact with our patients, try to establish a kind of services which is different from the one that we used to have, where one-on-one contact visits, and also in the normal circumstances we promote our patients to seek us as soon as they feel bad, and now we have to move in the other direction. So,
Doctor, but also, and it seems to me another challenge you're facing. I know a few of your colleagues, psychiatrists in your department, have tested positive, but those who have not, we read about doctors in Italy crying in the hallways because of the rationing they're having to do. What are you anticipating in terms of your fellow psychiatrists, fellow doctors?
Well, I mean, it is the same situation across all the health service personnel, not focused to psychiatrists. I do think that the same feeling, experiences, and challenges all across the world, across all the personnel in the hospital, which are on the front line. What is happening on our, particularly among the mental health professionals, because we have, as you mentioned, some of them that are already with the virus, mm-hmm. is that most of them are at home. That's very important. That as you know, the severity of the disease is I mean, only a minority of the cases need to be on the hospital. Most of our colleagues, fortunately, are not on the hospital as any patients. They are at home, and of course, the main challenge is trying to see. First of all, the people are still working, and the fears that they have about getting the infections, whether or not they may have the infection without knowing, and one of the main worries that they have, whether or not they may expose their patients, the ones that they see on the inpatient wards, and also on the emergency room. So it is the fear of infecting others or being themselves infected without knowing, because as you mentioned, there's some issues regarding the testing.
You know, Delories, you've lived in both countries, and so far here, this is pretty new to us. There are many people who are chafing at the restrictions placed on them in the United States, but they're nowhere near as restrictive as what people in Spain are enduring. How are they handling? How are they reacting to this nationwide lockdown?
Well, until now, I think people have really been pulling together, keeping up their spirit. Every night at 8 o'clock in the evening, which is before dinner, Spanish time, people go out on their balconies, open their windows, and applaud. And it's a way of showing their appreciation for the healthcare workers and other essential workers who aren't on lockdown like the rest of us and who are going out and doing their jobs. And it's that solidarity that I think is the most important thing for us all to feel for each other. And we definitely do have that here in Spain.
Dolores, how long was it before there were just some cases in Spain till it reached this lockdown proportion just a few days ago?
Oh, you'll have to ask Jose Luis.
There was the first case in Madrid. I think could be 20 days or something like that. But it radically changed. 10 days ago, 7 days ago, we only have 9 cases in my hospital, and today we have 99. So
99.
In 7 days,
in this country, one of the problems we had convincing our fellow citizens of how serious this was is the President of the United States was not taking it very seriously. In your country, the Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, his wife, from what I understand, tested positive. Does that cause people to lose their denial more quickly when one of the leaders of their country's spouse is infected?
I don't think
not really.
Denial ever.
No. That happened. This wake up to the problem started before it was known that these prominent figures were tested positive. It happens last Monday when the government 10 days ago, suddenly changed the message from a previous approach, try to keep it with not significant change in our lifestyle, to radically change completely the way we live every day. And so this is something that happens 8 days ago.
Understood.
And that came from in 24 hours, this change. It was not a progressive approach.
Can I ask you both for a final piece of advice? Delories, starting with you. Many think that we're just days behind you in the United States in terms of the restrictions on our activities. What advice do you give to the people of the United States about what may be to come?
Take it seriously. Take it seriously. And staying home is a small price to pay for something much more serious down the line. And just half an hour ago, the King of Spain gave a speech. And he said, every little bit counts. Every one of us is part of the solution. And that's true.
And doctor, from you quickly, if I can, what's your advice to fellow healthcare professionals in the United States?
That preparedness. You need to anticipate. You need to be prepared in terms of course, all the resources are needed in terms of surgical masks and all these things. You need to train your team, even if you are not working in infectious disease. The nursing staff of the psychiatric services need to know how to deal with highly infectious patients. So you need to train them well in advance how to dress properly with the proper equipment. You need to get equipment. You need to train people. You need to put in place programs to deal with patients that may have had the infections, and they need to know what are the proper procedures. So train, inform well ahead, and prepare for the different scenarios. That's the most important. And then, of course, you need to motivate the people. This is going to be a long battle, and that the morale is very important.
Delories and Doctor, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. And good luck to all of you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Tim.
Glad you're smiling. I'm told by my colleagues that before I could hear them, the doctor was telling me to stop touching my face. I'm trying.